This week on Story, writer Andy Siara discusses his breakout screenplay, Palm Springs, the irreverent science fiction romantic comedy starring Andy Samberg.
You just have to allow your characters to make these major mistakes. And then that's something that they're actually like, oh, that was a symptom of her life before her doing that, but it was like something she still is like ultimately battling and grappling with. The movie's a lot about acceptance of yourself and your flaws.
Ciara deep dives into the story's time-bending structure and discusses the art of combining genre in service of story.
I went to AFI for film school. On the first day there, I met Max Barbaco, who directed Palm Springs. But we just hit it off right away. We had the same taste in movies and music, and so we made our first short together there. We made a couple other shorts, and while at school, and then when we finished, we're like, let's make our first movie together. I'll write it, you direct it. We'll come up with the idea together. We'll figure out what it is, and then we went out to Palm Springs like that weekend after we graduated. Just to like figure out what we want to do. And then out of that weekend, we just had the simple idea of the character of Niles, taking a character on a journey from caring about nothing to finding purpose in caring.
I don't think that we met. I'm Sarah.
Niles.
Nice.
5 years later, Palm Springs came out, but it was like about 2 years of just us two, like, getting in a room and just throwing every idea at the wall. He initially kind of went out to Palm Springs on kind of a death bender thing. And then I realized like I was hundreds and hundreds of pages and failed drafts. And that like I didn't like him because I didn't. He seemed just like a kind of a cynical LA, New York hipster that was just I just was like cool man. Hit for him to say a line like "life is meaningless." I was also reading a lot of like Borges and Be Here Now at the time, and kind of like started introducing some more of like the metaphysical elements to it all at that point. And then it was like a year and a half into it, and Max and I were just realizing that same problem was like this. There's something that's like there's a disconnect between this character. Like I just don't buy that he thinks life is meaningless. So then that's when the time loop stuff came in. It's like, well, let's make a world where we can actually believe his point of view, believe that like he would like, how does one get to the point of saying life is meaningless? Well, if they're stuck in a time loop for thousands of years or whatever.
But what is this? When is this?
Yeah, about that. So, this is today. Today is yesterday. And tomorrow is also today. It's one of those infinite time loop situations you might have heard about.
That I might have heard about?
Yeah.
How do I stop it? I don't want tomorrow to be today. I want tomorrow to be tomorrow.
Right. That's natural. Unfortunately, that's never going to happen.
Tomorrow will always and forever now be
today. So. How about this? Tomorrow, Tala's teeth will be totally fine.
Which way is that cave?
It's difficult to talk about this movie without talking about a movie like Groundhog's Day, which was sort of the grandfather of these. But you guys do something really interesting with it is you sort of use that to your advantage. It's almost like it's not a sequel to Groundhog's Day per se, but it's the audience at this point is kind of familiar enough with that concept that you start with Andy's character already in the loop.
And starting out, with him in the loop was obviously that's the key thing there. And we would kind of refer to this as a sequel to a movie that doesn't exist really. But there's a whole other movie that could happen where it's like when he first gets stuck in the loop, and then like those first however many years when he like just hits that plateau point.
Let's dive into kind of the structure of this film, if you don't mind. We start. Andy Samberg's character Niles is at a wedding. It's clear that something's going on. He's very disaffected, and he kind of takes an interest in this woman Sarah. They have a night together. which ends with him being shot in the arm with a crossbow, running to a cave. She follows after him, and all of a sudden, she's in the loop as well.
Niles? Niles?
Oh, stop! Don't come in here!
Are you okay?
Don't come in here!
Hello? What the
We wanted to feel like a horror movie in a way, just and have kind of like that Kristen look like, I mean, react in a way like as if this is really actually happening, and then obviously, like, you know, through many drafts and making it's still a comedy scene, but starting out of that place of like of this, I don't know, terrifying, confusing the world has just been upended, mixed with, like, you know, a lot of what Max and I initially like bonded over when we were in film school is like these kind of chaotic scenes that are I'm like, there's some really great ones in I Heart Huckabees that, and some, you know, P.T. Anderson has like these just very just like fluid, like this, it seems like everything's gonna just like pop off. So that was another big part of it. I guess one thing that I was very, very proud of with this one is it's one of my favorite lines of the one of the favorite lines that I've ever written in my entire life. This dentist glues teeth, and Peter Gallagher just knocked that out of the park.
Whoops.
Jerry, give me the teeth. The 3 front teeth are pretty much broken off. There's 1 full canine, and I guess...
This is like a big day for everyone. This is a big day for me, too.
The wedding is today, in 6 hours.
Sarah, why are you standing there like a freak? Why were you in the pool?
This doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, wait a minute, you can't see me.
What happened? Is she okay?
She'll be okay. I'm taking Tala into town. This dentist glues teeth.
Her energy is such a contrast to Andy Samberg's energy, and it's a really kinetic scene. There's a lot of stress, whereas he's just such a, you know, he's just sort of floating through life at this point.
I love a good good log flume ride, like you know, you're floating on a nice little lazy river kind of thing. But then when there's like a story on top of that that gives you like the laughs and thrills and but on specifically this talk about Splash Mountain at Disneyland, like move all the story stuff aside on that, simply just on like the ride mechanics of that, where you're pulled up, there's like this, you don't know what's gonna happen.
So she figures out what's going on. She kind of talks to Niles, and she does a lot of the things that we've gathered that Niles has tried to do to get out of the loop. She's panicked.
I remember sitting through many test screenings of this, and my least favorite part of the movie is the part where after Andy explains to Kristen's character, like, you know, what's happening, and then she goes, she starts trying things on her own, or starts trying to get out. It's a part of the movie that, like, you have to do, because like she's not going to immediately go to the point where she's like, okay, yeah, you're right, life is meaningless, let's go have some fun.
Niles and Sarah become friends. They're kind of enjoying this sort of carefree life together. Basically, at some point after they finally get together, we realize that she has been sleeping with the groom.
Hey, sorry, you should probably go, you know, before somebody sees you.
Can you talk a little bit about how you kind of decided on her story?
It's kind of a wholesome movie that just, says the F word a lot.
Yeah.
And but it's still like a very R-rated movie, but like the end, by the end, it's like, it's not like a cynical movie at all. And I almost think that sometimes people forget that like in the middle, you have this, it's on this back to back of that being revealed, and then Andy's character saying that he slept with her 1,000 times. And it's like these two things that are just so despicable, like in a way. Like you can, and normally, like if we knew that at the top of the movie, we'd hate these people at the top of the movie, I think, because we just go in with those judgments. Then we spend the first half hour or 45 minutes or whatever, like kind of hopefully like kind of falling in love with them. And then we see that, oh yeah, humans are capable of doing like, just kind of really bad things. And I think it's important. Like that's why we have movies and stories, is to like show characters that can like allowing the characters to like do the worst thing possible, and then try to think of like one thing worse than that and have them do that. And I think that's kind of just like was at least the idea behind like going into like thinking about that whole middle section, I guess, and where that's revealed and where the Andy stuff is revealed too. You just have to like allow your characters to make these major mistakes, because then that's something that they're actually like that was a symptom of her life before like her doing that, but it was like something she still is like ultimately battling and grappling with. The movie's a lot about acceptance of yourself and your flaws too.
Yes.
Like most of the most recent Disney movies too. That's why those work as well.
That is one of the things that I really love about this movie. There are moments that are so light, so like comic and easygoing, but it's not afraid to go to these dark places, to these violent places even. It keeps you on your toes. Everyone aside from our main two actors kind of living the same day. How do you keep all these timelines straight? Did you guys have a system?
That's where the wedding aspect of it helps a lot, because like there's, a wedding day looks like there's a schedule to that. There's, the morning getting festivities, and then you have your ceremony and your kind of cocktail hour and the dances and then the speeches. And so we only see Andy's dance once throughout the whole movie. We return to the speeches, but only because like it opens with like his speech and then gives Kristen the chance to come up and give hers, and then she declines it. So we only return to it because it's like it was the payoff of that, I guess.
You have this selflessness and this hopefulness that's really special. It's really rare. Big sisters are supposed to teach baby sisters, but I will today and forever and ever be learning from you.
Otherwise, like we were trying not to do too much of like repeating, and so that helped in the timeline of it all. And at a certain point, because it's however many years he's been in there,
having it all set at a wedding is also a great great little detail, because everyone's been to a bunch of weddings. They're all kind of the same. You may be, at least I felt as a younger person, like, I'm not connected to any of this at all. It all seems like, and from a cynical point of view. And then they kind of, it's about two people who are kind of falling in love. And it's ultimately, I think, a very romantic movie.
Thank you. Yeah, I love weddings. I love weddings so much. My wedding with Amanda was the best, but I know what you mean.
At the very least, it's you feel like it's never going to happen.
I mean, that's where, and I know that's where it was good to like the team up of me and Max, is that like Max actually filmed our wedding. He was the first one. He was like, filming us as we like had our first look and everything too. So I know that like some of this was like his experience being like seeing that and feeling like it wasn't going to be possible for him. And he's now married and it is possible.
Yes.
But but I, going to weddings, like there's nothing worse than going to a wedding where you feel that disconnect. It's supposed to be, one of the greatest days of your life, and where you're an outpouring of emotion and love, and putting love on display in a way. When Andy's character and Kristen's character are eating tacos and talking about like love and weddings and they both have like these opposing views on it. One, she's the more cynical side. He's the more like, it's nice, love, like let's bask in the love. Like that was how I was feeling, and then and we'd kind of, Max and I would kind of like act out these like little debates about it too.
Yeah.
And then that's what kind of became like what was in the movie.
Anyways, I think the party's gonna start pretty soon. You wanna head back?
Is that a joke? No. Why would I do that?
I don't know. Eat, drink, dance, bask in love.
That is not love.
Of course it is. Tala's in
No,
love.
you don't actually know what you're talking about. We, you, me, everyone. Everyone we know. Nobody can stand the idea of being alone. So we buy into this pageantry and celebrate its bull.
All right, so no wedding then.
You guys must have had a good time coming up with all those different gags and things.
I remember very clearly when Max and I were like, we got to do a big montage in the middle.
Yeah.
At that point, it was like it was going to be a one-song montage, but we had a case of Tecate, and we're like, let's just and turn the song on that we're like there was this Alex Cameron song. Be like, for this, finding that arc that's within the montage, where it's like you starts out in this like nothing matters.
Yeah.
But let's go have some fun. To by the end, we're like, oh, but they're actually like becoming really good friends, and there was a connection there, and they waking up and smiling, like the first, like whereas the smile the first thing when they wake up, that's what you hope for in life when you're with a partner, is like you're excited to see them every day, and so using that as our kind of like spine, we're just like, how far can we take this in a ridiculous world where you can die and wake up the next day? And there were a couple things that were cut out of the script, but then once we started working with Andy, like this was his favorite part of the movie, and that's when it became a 3-song montage.
Yeah.
Which is another thing you're not supposed to do. And even our editor was like, it's not going to work. And then he realized, no, it actually works. And I'd say like the tattoos, that was like that's when I feel like we knew when things were working, was when everybody is like, even when we're filming the thing, people are coming up with ideas. And I think that was like one that came up, like, oh, the sun's going down right now. What else can we do? To just anything we can grab quickly. So Q, our DP, just grabbed the camera, and then Andy and Kristen just like, wait, what about tattoos? And that was like one of the, a very last minute addition.
Off the back and everything?
Oh yeah, it's such an awesome car.
How close are you sticking to my sketch?
I stuck to it exactly. You're gonna love it.
Awesome.
Looks really cool.
One of the reasons I think the movie works so well is, even though there's this kind of fantastical stuff happening, at the end of the day, it's about these two people and their bonding.
And that's really all we ultimately wanted to show with this whole section, is just like, what it feels like to fall in love with somebody.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think one of the most important things is you can be like your stupidest self with that person.
Totally.
And like that's why so much of that montage is like, it makes me smile, because it makes me feel like oh, this is I'm buying them falling in love, or buying them like these having these feelings starting to bubble up, because like it just gets progressively sillier and sillier.
Stop. There's a bomb in the cake. Don't worry. I used to be a bomb guy. Everyone stand back!
Oh my God! Try out! You son of a bitch! You ruined my plans!
Sarah, the sister of the bride, and based on her accent, from origins unknown. I'll take her dead or alive.
Put the weapon down.
Fine. Then it's to be hand-to-hand combat then.
Oh my God! Niles!
You have an amazing cast of really great comic actors, even in some of the smaller roles. How did the script change at all when you brought the cast on? I guess you mentioned the tattoo scene. Does the tone or do you make any little adjustments and shifts once you've cast?
This is why I love. I really love working closely with actors and directors and stuff. That like really embracing that side of the collaboration. But like when we started working with Andy, like what we did was it was me and Max and Andy and Kiva and Becky, who just went page by page in their office, and Andy's just like saying these lines out loud and pitching other like jokes to go on top of it, and that's where things like started to shift, and just like the tone became like even more specific than I was, because there's nothing more in my mind more useful and helpful than like working one-on-one with the actor, or I guess in this whatever as a group with the actor who's gonna actually be saying these lines, and so once we got that kind of like honed in, we would kind of have like our like who we're thinking of for certain parts. But it was soon after that first meeting that Andy and Becky had just had like a general meeting with Kristen, and I remember after they had that, they're like, Kristen's incredible, she's gonna be the one. What we didn't like offer it to her like for 9 months later, because we didn't have the money to make the movie at that point, and it wasn't like a real movie yet. But from that point on, as I was going through these other rewrites, I was like, I'm writing it for Kristen. And also it was a very like improv friendly set too, because as long as we're hitting the story points we need to hit, I'm usually of the mindset that like hopefully the actors like know these characters better than I do by the time we're filming it. So if something were to feel unnatural for them, I'd rather them just say it in their own way. Like and some of my favorite improv moments were like letting Connor, who plays Randy, just go.
Seriously, did she tell you guys to do this? Okay, maybe you didn't go in the cave, but she told you to do this, right?
I don't feel safe with him in the house. I feel like we should call the cops. That's like, honestly, I don't feel safe anymore.
He's the best.
Yeah, he's a wild comedian, and then same thing for Meredith, who plays Misty in it. Yeah,
we've gotten to the point in the script where we have that real serious kind of reckoning with the two characters. They split for a while. Can you talk about sort of the ending and how you kind of came up with the solution to this loop,
if
there is one?
Yeah,
I know there are differing theories about what happened.
I think the third act is where things mostly kind of shifted around a little bit. And it was like in that very first meeting I had with Andy, like he pitched Sarah walking into the cave strapped with C4, and it was like it was just a fun image, and I kind of took that and was like thinking more about that. And over the next month, talking to them, we kind of realized they at least have to try a new way to break out. And it's like it's presenting the choice to them both. That's really how we were trying to focus in that last bit with speech and all that.
It's a little bit like their kind of wedding, if you will. They're kind of taking that leap. Yeah,
it's about making the decision to like
go for it.
Spend the rest of your life, or at least spend a portion of your life with somebody, partner up with somebody, and because I am of the mindset it's more fun to go through this existence with somebody else.
Absolutely.
And I might be wrong too. It might be better to go alone. But I'm a fan of having a partner in life.
Ready?
Yeah.
Ta-da!
Wow. Thank you. That's beautiful.
I'm not that old though, am I?
You've been watching Reliving Palm Springs with Andy Siara on OnStory. OnStory is part of a growing number of programs in Austin Film Festival's OnStory project that also includes the OnStory radio program, podcast, book series, and the OnStory archive, accessible through the Whitliff Collections at Texas State University. To find out more about OnStory and Austin Film Festival, visit onstory.tv or austinfilmfestival.com.